Okay, welcome again to our channel of choice in the light of reason. We're going to listen again to the erudite and cerebral Professor Douglas Ibaucho Richanele, a great philosopher of repute. But Prof, can you tell us your own analysis of this issue of NLC strike, the Nigerian Labour Congress strike, and the issue of minimum wage?
Well, it is very disheartening that at this stage in our existence as a country, remember, I didn't say a nation, I say in our existence as a country, we are being told that it is good not to pay workers well. Because that's the way I see it. The history of labor activism in Nigeria predated the independence. However, over time it has evolved. And strike as a praxis to get the leadership to change course and do what is right, to enhance the welfare of Nigerian workers, is an instrument acknowledged in the Constitution and all the relevant provisions of the International Labour Organization as domesticated in Nigeria. The way I see it, the current government seems to be acting in a manner that shows insensitivity to the plight of the Nigerian worker. In fact, ever since the current administration came into power, they seem to have treated NLC and TUC as an irritant that, for whatever reason, is trying to constitute an obstacle to the government. So you can see some of the pigs in the animal farm called Nigeria accusing NLC of treason, saying they shouldn't have shut down the national grid. And one of the pigs even had the audacity to say that NLC is lucky that we are not in a military regime. And these are some of the people who claim to be pro-democracy activists when he sues them. You know, anybody that said one or two things against Abacha, the press has a way of elevating them to the role of pro-democracy activists. What I can say about the current problem of NLC and TUC, with the government is, number one, I believe that the quest for a new minimum wage is morally justified. It's just, it is fair, and it is an agitation every reasonable Nigerian should agree with. It's an agitation that every sensible Nigerian should support. But the issue is that when people talk about negotiation, NLC should be negotiating with the government. Negotiations will be fruitful if the people negotiating are honest, sincere, and are very willing to be fair and just. I can tell you that NLC and TUC probably committed a strategic error by relaxing the strike. Although some may claim that the unions were acting in accordance with certain conventions and rules of international labor organization. Maybe. But when you are dealing with a government that will only begin to show interest when they push you to the wall, you may discover that strike may be a viable option. Government offered from, I don't know whether it's 57,000 and moved it to 60,000, and then gave a promise. I was told that the president gave a promise that he's willing to go above 60,000 naira. And NLC and TUC leaders probably thought that what will be added to the 60,000 will be something that is reasonable. perhaps maybe nudging it to 100,000, only to be told that government is willing to add only 2,000 to make it 62. That is very insensitive. And we are even reading in the press that governors were opposing the 60,000 naira, which the federal government had offered. And then the issue also have to be considered by those in the private sector. It's a very complex problem, particularly from the private sector, because a lot of businesses are struggling. But the very idea that government cannot afford to go beyond 62,000 is ridiculous. When you consider the kind of lifestyle, the kind of emoluments, the kind of wastages, the kind of incompetence and mediocrity, the lack of prudent management of available resources. How would it sound to a reasonable human being when you hear that a vice presidential lodge has been built with 21 billion? That a government that is crying there's no money is giving 90 billion for people to go to foreign land and throw stones at the devil. A government that is giving National Assembly members SUVs that were manufactured in other countries worth over 150 million naira each. As a matter of fact, the Tinubu government is unfair to Nigerians and is actually playing on the intelligence of Nigerians. And they are actually relying on the docility of the average Nigerian. If NLC goes back to strike, it will be very awkward because people were fully in support of NLC when he went on strike the first time. Just after a day or two, they claim to have relaxed the strike. And a lot of Nigerians were not happy. Well, Nigerians were already suffering. I said, look, if it will require us to suffer some more for the government to accede to what is reasonable for NLC and TUC members, so be it. I don't know how it will be resolved, but I just hope that reason, common sense should prevail, and government should look at the problems of the average Nigerian worker, the so-called lack of productivity, the so-called carefree attitude of those working for government, the anomalies in the system. A large percentage of it are attributable to inadequate remuneration for those that are working. So I would advise that NLC has already made a strategic error. They should find ways of ensuring that even if they are thinking of going on strike again, they must mobilize Nigerians to peaceful protests, which Constitution guarantees. That Nigerians are tired. Our feet are tired waiting for the renewed hope, which is turning into renewed hopelessness and disillusionment. The people in power seem to be isolated from the reality on ground. They do not appreciate that Nigerians are already at the precipice. Nigerians are at the point of no return. Very soon they will get to the point, they will cross the Rubicon. People are suffering. And as they say, a laborer deserves not just his wages, but living wages. I think that there should be a fundamental restructuring of how government is run in this country. The system seems to be designed to be wasteful. The politicians who are supposed to be, in quotes, servants of the people, have become the oppressors of the people. And Nigeria is increasingly becoming George Orwell's Animal Farm, where all citizens are equal, but some are more equal than the others. Please, the government should allow workers to breathe. the suffering is too much.